Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Possibility Partner Show. And for those of you who are watching live, happy St. Patrick's Day! Woohoo! You know, up here in Boston, this is a big day for us, March 17th. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, and your Chief Possibility Officer. And I'm so thrilled you're joining us for another wonderful episode of the Possibility Partner Show. I'm here every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, sharing Andelicious advice for entrepreneurial adventurers. And these are extraordinary conversations with seasoned entrepreneurs sharing their best tips, tools, and advice to help you and your business grow and flourish. And whether you're a solopreneur or a business owner with 100 employees, you know the role of CEO of your business can get very isolating. So thank you for tuning in and grabbing some tenacity, courage, resilience, persistence, and the delicious feeling of hope right here on the Possibility Partner Show. We're all cheering each other on and celebrating our woohoos and our rut-rows. And today we are going to get motivated. That's right. We have best-selling author, keynote speaker, and Reject-ologist Andrea Waltz joining us today. Please say hello to everybody, Andrea.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to be here today.
Where are you hailing from?
Orlando, Florida, and we will have many parties here in downtown Orlando as well. I will not be there, but I am wearing green.
Yeah, this is the best I can do. But, you know, I am from the Protestant side of Ireland, so it's kind of an orange-green mix, perhaps. Not so sure. I'm so thrilled you could join us. I love your work. I love your book, Go for No. A great read, everybody who's watching. I have to tell you, it's only 74 pages long, and you will be highly impacted by Andrea's book. But first, let's find out, where did Andrea get her start? You know, what kind of entrepreneurial journey and adventure has she been on? Share with us, Andrea.
Well, Ande, I actually got talked into being an entrepreneur. My current husband, Richard, we met at LensCrafters, and I was in college. I got a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. I wanted to be a forensic scientist, solve crimes. Before the TV show CSI even existed, I wanted to do that. But while I was working my way through school, working at LensCrafters, I met Richard, and I thought he was brilliant, and he had all these amazing philosophies on sales and customer service, and I was getting into the world of training and development at that time for that company, and I absolutely loved it, and I loved stand-up training. And one day, Richard told me that there was a whole world of people who worked outside corporate America who were brought in to do speaking and training from the outside. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, we should quit our jobs, we should start our own company, and that's what we should do. And I said, all right, I believe in you, I like what you have to say, you're brilliant, so let's do it.
Oh my gosh, that's a great story, great adventure. Now, you talked about how you were really into CSI. Clearly you're a problem solver. How did that translate and lead you to human potential and human development?
Well, the funny thing is, I didn't really realize that I was even interested in those topics until I got somewhere that promoted training and development and giving people the tools and the skills, and I loved it. I loved the idea that you could sit in a room and teach people these things that were a different level than you get in college. You know, it wasn't just about memorizing facts or reading things about the past. It was about learning about who you are and who you can be, and I loved that, and that fascinated me. Working with Richard, I mean, he shared all kinds of experts with me. He was the first person, he turned me on to Zig Ziglar and Secrets of Closing the Sale, and I listened to that, and I said, I love this stuff, this is fantastic. So we would go see speakers like Zig and Wayne Dyer and all these great teachers, and I just fell in love with it. So I guess I went from being kind of that analytical side to really being on that human potential side, if you will.
How was it learning how to speak on the stage? I love that stand-up training. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, stand-up training. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we did at LensCrafters was, you know, we'd have small workshops, new hire orientation, and things like that. And I really enjoyed that. But I will tell you this, Ande, my speaking career started around age 12 I think I was like in the 7th grade, or maybe I was 13, and I gave probably the worst presentation in the world. It was absolutely at least for me, it was absolutely horrific. It was on the dangers of smoking. It was a total disaster. I could barely get through it. My voice was shaking. I could barely speak. I could barely stand. And I vowed that no matter what happened in my life in the future, I would fly to the moon. I would dig ditches. I would never be in a job or position, career of any kind that involves speaking to groups. That was something I knew for sure. And lo and behold, wouldn't you know, I get involved in training and then eventually get involved in speaking. But the thing that helped me overcome it really was the passion for the topic. Seriously, I think if you gave me something to speak on that I'm not familiar with, or that I'm not, comfortable with, or maybe even don't believe in, I think it would be just as disastrous as it was when I talked about the dangers of smoking, even though I really did believe in that. But just it really is the fact that I have the passion for it. And so I think when you have the passion for the topic, those nerves finally give way.
That is such a wonderful point. And for those of you watching, how great is it when you say to life, never, ever am I ever, no way going to do something, because forget it. It's going to happen next, right, Andrea?
Exactly. Oh, yeah, I was determined. Never.
Well, now you've been on this journey for 15, 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you go around the world? How does it work for you?
Well, our business has taken, like all businesses, a lot of ups and downs, twists and turns. We started doing training mostly for retail organizations. Rich was really the trainer. He was kind of the front person, and he would go out and do workshops. One of the topics that he spoke on was Go for No. I was really the marketing person of our team, marketing, back office, support, all of that. I kind of ran the operation, and I really learned as I went, made every mistake in the book that you could possibly make. And eventually we retooled our business and we focused just on the Go for No topic, because it was the thing that if we did training for 8 hours, it was the topic that people loved. And so we kind of listened to our audience, we listened to our customers, and we said that let's just focus on this. This can be an entire business, and that's what it's turned out to be. So we've really focused on Go for No for the last 7 years.
See, now that's a great nugget right there, entrepreneurs. A lot of times, just start. This is why I call it an adventure. Start your business. You're going to figure out things along the way. You really, really are. Your customers, your marketplace, new ideas may come in. You may evolve yourself into another area. Just start the business, and you'll figure it out rather than waiting. I know Andrea can relate to that. Is there anything as an entrepreneur that you practice on a daily basis to help you stay inspired and motivated?
One of the fun things that I've done with Go for No over the years, and because it is kind of a niche topic, it's a specialty mindset, a specialty skill, but I always like to think about what is happening today that I could tie this into to make it current. So I'm always thinking about, what's going on with today's entrepreneurs, and are they talking about failure? Are they talking about rejection? And can I tie that into Go for No to always be keeping it relevant? So, for example, and this has been a few years now, but I did this press release a few years ago, and the press release was failure experts say that the American Idol rejects are more successful than the average American. And it kind of went semi-viral, got tons of play. I ended up going on the TV Guide channels, they called it Idol Chat at the time, to talk about American Idol, because what we were saying really is the people that go on American Idol who try and fail and are horrible singers are at least going out there and attempting something great, where most people we're sitting on our couch eating popcorn and saying how bad these people are, and they need to get off the stage, right? So I think what keeps me motivated is trying to keep it fresh, and it can be challenging, and trying to think of things and pull things that are going around the world, and how does this influence my topic so that I can keep people engaged and keep it relevant. So for me, I just have fun with it. I see it as a challenge every day, coming in and saying, okay, what can I do today to reinvigorate the topic?
Well, and the beauty of the challenge, too, in your category is that it's part of human frailty to fear rejection from our tribe, to fear no, to, stay in place. I love the meme that you created with the baby walking. It's just to feed everybody, and it's like the baby going, "What? That didn't work out walking. I am never going to try this again. I'm sitting down here." Talk a little about that, Andrea.
Oh yeah, that is fun. We talked a lot about kids in general when it comes to persistence and tenacity and how great children are, and and that was something that Richard actually would share in a workshop where he'd say, kids learning to walk is really a go for no story. It's they get up and the kid doesn't hit his head on the coffee table and go like, that's it, I'm just going to lay here and let my parents take care of me forever. No, they hit their head on the coffee table, they get up, they cry, and they do it again. It's a perfect example. We talk about kids in the grocery store with cookies, asking their mom for a cookie, and they'll do it over and over until they're finally rewarded. And we make a point in our workshops when we speak, Andy, and we always say, we're not telling people they need to be spoiled brats. We don't want people to alienate their prospects and their customers. However, as adults, we've beaten that tenacity out of ourselves. We've really let that go, and we need to get.
Oh, that reminds me of a great story. Our youngest, Matthew, I swear, Andrea, no is just another way to get to yes for him. It's been that way from day one, and I remember feeling so frustrated in the car at one time. He was 9 years old. He's in the back seat, and I look in the rearview mirror, and I said, "Look, Matthew, I love that no is another way to yes for you, but I'm the mother. Now knock it off." I didn't want to squelch that out in him. I wanted to honor that, but stop using it on me, baby.
That's great. Well, I like that you were mindful about that.
Well, I can appreciate that. I see it in people who are so good at just finding another way to yes. And you talk about that yes being the destination and no being how to get there. So the minute I heard of that, I thought about Matthew. Hey, folks, how wonderful is Andrea Waltz, and how thrilled are we to have her today? You've got to visit her website, goforno.com. You've got to download this book. I'm telling you, great read, inspirational, impactful. You will apply the feeling and the tactical advice the minute you read it. So go over to Amazon and download it. And remember, you can meet Andrea today in the Afterglow chat. Right after I'm done, I hit end broadcast. Boom, I put the link to this room right here in the comments. And entrepreneurs, what a great way to meet an amazing woman like Andrea, to have these unrecorded one-on-one conversations. I really hope to see you there. So does Andrea after the show. And thank you to the live viewers, all you lucky charms. They're talking about what they might be tossing back today, too, given it's St. Patty's Day. I'm so thrilled you're here, Dave Moore, and Richard O, and Carmen, and Tanya, and Dave Pipe, and Nicole. It's just, and many others. I'm so thrilled to see you live, and I'm grateful for your showing up today. Let's get into the roller coaster, Andrea, of our emotional attachment to yes and no. That feeling like, oh, I'm good, yay, they said yes, and oh no, I'm worthless, they said no. How did you and Richard write the book to go for no? How did you come up with the wonderful format, the storytelling format in which you used with it?
Well, we're frustrated screenwriters. That is part of our, that is something that we have failed at, and we continue to pursue. However, our fiction writing is one thing that is a love of ours. And so when we wrote, the first fable we actually wrote was for the retail industry. It was called Unlocking the Secrets of Retail Magic. So we knew, which was a fable, and we knew that when we wrote something about Go for No, it was not going to be just a kind of a how-to, your typical instructional book. We wanted to write a fable about a guy who was not all that successful, who learns Go for No, and it really makes him more successful. But the device of, okay, how do we teach this to him is, we thought, well, let's take the Go for No story, and let's actually have him meet a future version of himself, which is super successful, and figure out how is it that these two people who are really one and the same, one's super successful, one's average, what was the difference? And the difference, as they started talking about it, was this moment in which they learned the Go for No message. One took it and ran with it, and the other was like, I didn't, who cares, right? So how Go for No came about, Andy, though, was something that actually happened to Richard. He is our Go for No guinea pig. I mean, this actually happened to him. He was working in a menswear store, just like in the story. His sales were not great. He learned from a mentor named Harold, who watched him have this fabulous sale, and the sale was $1,100. And Harold said, let me ask you, what did the customer say no to? And Richard said, he didn't say no to anything. I mean, you saw the sale. It was a great sale. He bought this and that and the other thing. And he said, well, then how did you know he was done? And that question of how did I know he was done, Rich realized, well, I had this great sale. The man bought everything I showed him. I guess I knew he was done because I decided he was done. I rang up the sale. I took him to the register. That was it. The guy was done. And Harold said to Richard, your fear of the word no is going to kill you. You're a great salesperson, but if you could get over not wanting to hear no, you could have a great career. So he went in the next day, went in, started applying Go for No on the job, became an award-winning salesperson with the company, ended up moving into training, moved into leadership, eventually went to LensCrafters. And when he shared that story with me, Andy, I had an epiphany, and I said, oh my gosh, I am not the unbelievable, fabulous salesperson that I thought I was, because I thought I was. I really did, and I thought, I don't like to hear no either. When I get the yes, I don't want to push. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want people to think I'm aggressive. I'm a people pleaser, so I want people to like me. And so to me, if you say no to me, that might, I might be crossing a line. So when I heard that story, I thought this is why I call him brilliant. I said, okay, this is brilliant. When he said, let's become outside speakers and trainers, I thought this is a message people need to hear. And that is really the signature story. What's fascinating, though, is, and this is where, and Richard hates it, I really do, I berate him over this, and I embarrass him, and he's so much better now, but there was a point where he said, well, go for no. Once you tell somebody go for no, once you say the words, the cat's out of the bag. There's nothing else. And I'm like, no. There's so much more. There's so much more deeper things in here. Well, he ended up writing a 3-hour training program and creating tons of material for us. So the man who said all you have to do is tell people to go for no, and they know what you're talking about, finally got it. He said, okay, I realized there's a lot here that we can train people on.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of women can relate to being raised during a certain time by certain mothers who were sharing their rules for success, which is keep quiet and be polite.
Exactly.
And that's the people pleaser, Andrea. And of course, that means don't be a pushy broad.
Right. Exactly.
So how do we overcome that? How do we embrace no? How do we get comfortable with no, whether we're male or female, and the fear of rejection?
Right. There's so much to it, Andy, really. And now that I've been teaching it for 15 years, I'm getting close myself. We always joke we teach what we need to learn ourselves, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So really the first step is we teach people, and I think most people understand this to be true, is fear just doesn't go away. You can't wish it away, and then eventually, once the fear is gone, take action, unfortunately. So Go for No is all about action. It's about getting people into action, and really, as funny as this might sound, is giving people permission to fail. You see, and I kind of compare and contrast two worlds. And there's a Go for No world, and there's a Go for Yes world. Now, most of us live in the Go for Yes world. And in the Go for Yes world, it's, hey, Andy, I want you to go out, and I'd like you to make 2 sales, and I really would love you to get yeses in both cases, right? So, and you say, okay, well, I better do my best, and there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on me. Now, if the difference, that's the Go for Yes world. Now, the Go for No world, I'd say, I want you to go out, I want you to get 10 no's today. That means that you're going to have to make lots of calls, you're going to have to make lots of contacts. I'm giving you permission to fail, and in doing so, I know that you're going to learn how to approach people better. You're going to improve your presentation, your pitch, your offer, and when you come back, instead of saying, well, where's my 2 yeses, I say, let's see the 10 no's. Probably, statistically, what will happen within that interaction is you're going to get a yes here or there.
Right.
Eventually, you get better and you build on your skills through the activity. Now, in the meantime, there's a lot of fear, right? And that is the emotional piece of this, and it has to be dealt with, but it can only be dealt with through the action, through the activity.
Well, and I always felt a little more comfortable selling a company's products and services. When you're an entrepreneur, you've launched something that you've created. It's like a piece of art.
Yes.
And it's so hard to remove the personal feelings. I mean, when I had my food manufacturing business, that was really hard. Ew, we hate the taste of this. What do you mean? The fear of rejection was very high with that.
Yes.
And I know for many entrepreneurs, I just love this. Is it possible for us to give ourselves, because we're the CEOs of our businesses, permission to fail?
Yeah, you have to do that, and you have to almost reparent yourself in this category. I think you have to give yourself permission to fail. You have to give yourself permission to be bad so that you can be, okay, so that you can then be good and great eventually, right? The irony is we're so patient with children learning. You and I were talking about this before we went on live. We're so patient with children, understanding that, yes, they need to learn to walk and tie your shoes. And when we were kids ourselves, we had no problem failing. It was like, yeah, I'm going to go learn to ride my bike. I'm going to fall in the middle of the street. I don't care who sees. I'm going to fall on my face. But as adults, it's like, well, I'm going to start a business, but I don't want anybody to see it. I don't want them to see if I fail. I want to do this. I want to try this, but what will my parents think, and my sisters and brothers, and everybody around me? And we have this aversion to being seen as failures in everyone's eyes. We care way too much what people think about us. And so that's why we say, permission to fail. We've got this very simple little graphic in the book, Go for No. You might bring it up. A little model for reevaluating how you view failure and success. If you can embrace that model, it can be very powerful.
Right, and I want to encourage every business owner, entrepreneur, someone with an entrepreneurial dream who's watching right now. How is failure holding you back? How is your fear of rejection and fear of no holding you back? What are some of the ways that you see this happening, Andrea?
Well, I think a lot of it stems from, and I'll just go step back for 1 second and say a lot of it stems from also what people think, and being a perfectionist, wanting everything to be perfect. We're not going to launch until it's perfect. I'm not going to get started until it's perfect. And so again, that goes back to that, fear of rejection, fear of failure. So it shows up everywhere. I mean, it shows up in not starting. It shows up in constantly tweaking something and saying, oh, it's not ready, it's not ready. And like Steve Jobs famously said, professionals ship. Eventually you have to ship. You've got to get it out. And so there's that permission to fail, and then there's that understanding that failure model, which is the success that we're seeking. The yeses are always sought through those failures. The nos are the stepping stones. And so once you ship, you can then evaluate. And yeah, if people come back and they say, using your example, hey, it doesn't taste good, I don't like this, it does hurt, it's painful. I mean, Richard and I write fiction on the side, and we want everybody to love our book. There's a book, and we can maybe talk about this later as well, called The 4 Agreements. One of the 4 agreements, fabulous book, is called Don't Take Things Personally. And it is really all about respecting someone else's opinion. And if you can get out of your own self and say, you know what, for whatever reason, this person, this is just them. It's all about them and their beliefs and how they were raised and their tastes and everything else. When I hear people don't like chocolate, I think they must be absolutely insane. But it's their thing, right? It's their beliefs, it's their taste. And so if we can respect that, then hopefully we can stop taking those things personally.
Right, and it really is about reprogramming ourselves to stop looking externally for validation and for who we are and our values and where we need to be, and being more of an observer in our life. One of my favorite fail my way to success stories is when I went to apply to Simmons School of Management, the only all-women MBA program right here in Boston, phenomenal school. Not only once but twice they told me, I'm sorry, we don't take students, accept students with GMAT scores that low. I don't take standardized tests well. I'm sorry, folks, I'm miserable. And so the GMATs were just terrible, and I kept saying, okay, so what do you think they're going to need to see for me to get into this school? Because that was an unacceptable response. And so I took 3 months of algebra and 1 while I was working full time, and I got an A, so I could show them I had the critical thinking, got the expository writing, an A in that, and then I started 3 months of 3 semesters of statistics in one, Andrea, and I had a C in the midterm when I received my acceptance letter to Simmons, and this happened just in a 6-month period, and they said, oh, you're accepted provided you get a B+ or better in statistics. And I'm like, oh no, I got a C in the midterm. What am I going to do? And of course, this is how bad I am at statistics. I said to the instructor, what am I going to have to get a B+? What am I going to have to get in the final to get a B+? And he told me it has to be a 93, and I got a 94, and I got into Simmons, and a great happy ending. But I have to tell you, that was serious no's coming for me. But I had the training at that time to take their stuff and say, okay, I'm going to put that into the trash can, and I'm going to figure out what is it going to take to get into this school. And recommendations, of course, helped, and proving that I could stay on top of the curriculum, things that I couldn't prove in a stupid standardized test, with all due respect to everybody.
I love that, Andy. Well, you just proved one of my favorite quotes, which is, no doesn't mean never, no means not yet. And, good go for no people who are living in a go for no world understand that. And it can sometimes be, doesn't mean you weren't sad, doesn't mean you weren't discouraged, but you take it and you go like, okay, what do I have to do? That's a great story.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening to my story about that, because it was a big moment. And I think it's just so important that you remember what Andrea just said about, no doesn't mean never. It means not right now. So let's bring up a few wonderful comments from our viewers, Andrea. I am going to pin myself here and bring up Nicole, who says, permission to fail so you can be bad, then be good, and then be great. Love it, Andrea Waltz. Yes, thank you for that, Andrea. That's wonderful. And then Carmen, I love the going for no's. You get yes, but what counts is what you have learned. It is a win-win situation. Oh, that's beautiful. And then we have Dave Moore, who has trained more people, Andrea. Seriously, he's a remarkable man out of the UK. Teaching door-to-door salespeople, I used to tell them to get as many no's as possible, and someone will ruin your plan and say yes and buy from you. Count how many times you heard no, and then get the mindset that when you hear no, think, oh, I only need 4 or 5 more before somebody buys from me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's great. Thank you, Dave Moore, and thank you, my wonderful live viewers, for always contributing such wonderful comments and learning moments during the show. Andrea, I like to frame the entrepreneurial journey as an adventure, and I do this because it's a mindset I feel very strongly in. We were talking earlier, if you're set on, oh my gosh, what if my business fails? It's not going to be a great experience for you. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs in facing rejection and the no's, so that they, as leaders in their business or in their industry, can keep moving forward?
Yeah, it is not a great feeling, and I will even comment that Richard and I, a couple of years ago, we decided we had a screenplay that we wrote about 10 years ago, and we were just absolutely determined that it was not going to die in some box somewhere, so we decided that we were going to turn it into a book. And it was probably our biggest failure to date. I think we probably spent, all told, publicity, printing of the book ourselves, because we self-publish everything, probably $30,000. So a hefty chunk of change. And when I say unmitigated disaster, I mean unmitigated disaster. I mean, we sold about 11 copies. Now, Go for No is a wild success at having over 300,000 in print almost. But this other book, total disaster, right? And so you try to do everything you can to avoid those failures. On the other hand, there was a part of me that, a stubborn part, I guess, where I said, you know what, I'm going to do this even if it fails, because I believe in it. I just want to try. Have to try. I'll have more. I will regret more wondering later, could that have worked? Would that have been the greatest thing ever? And so, and we're doing something very similar to that right now. We're right in the process of writing a huge paranormal ghost suspense series. It's going to take us 3 years, and this is a massive, crazy project that we have to do. Well, and you'd think like, well, Andrea, maybe that other failure, that might tell you something. you just can't live your life like that. You have to try. So the lesson, though, Andy, and what we did after that failure was we wrote a very detailed report of everything that we learned. We detailed all of it. And the funny thing was we looked back, and much of our advice that we have told other people in the self-publishing world, we ignored. We ignored our own advice, which we do repeatedly, actually. But I think that if you can go back, and it is not a cliche to say, learn from your failures. I mean, really learn. Go back and do an autopsy, do an analysis, and then look at those things and say, okay, what would you still do even though you next time that could go right, but what are the things that you would avoid? What are the lessons learned? See all of the value that you learned there. And if you can attach a value to it, I think that you can move forward in the future and continue to do things, because there is no such thing as a guaranteed success in this world.
That's right. There sure isn't. And as the proud goddess of entrepreneurial adventures with 4 businesses under my tiara, I can tell you, each one brought so many wonderful learning adventures along the way, and it's amazing, especially if you have to raise money. Having people honor what you're doing with an investment, wow. And you definitely can't fear rejection when you're raising funds and money for your business, right, Andrea?
Oh, absolutely, yep. And you've got to ask and not prejudge and do all of those go for no things.
And stay unattached to the emotional roller coaster of it all. Right. What do you love best about what you're doing in your work right now?
The thing I love best about Go for No is really, I think it is this idea of people who don't do things because they feel like they're going to fail over it. And it makes me crazy to think that, and sad actually, to think there's people with so much potential who spin round and round trying to make everything perfect, get everything started, whereas I, with my 15, 20 years of experience, know that the only way that you can have those learnings is to take the action and do it. So I'm very passionate in teaching people and giving them permission to fail, even if maybe they won't give themselves permission to fail, and telling people to go out and fail and collect those no's, because I know that in doing so, that will make them so much better. I'm just super passionate about it. I believe that people can grow in leaps and bounds, and it's only because I hear from people all the time who get great results and really lose their fear and build their confidence in a short period of time just by going out and being willing to hear no, being willing to get rejected and seeing, oh my gosh, I survived. It wasn't as bad as I thought. And the person that I was convinced was going to tell me no then said yes. I mean, these are groundbreaking moments for people, and I get to see these little nuggets, little nuances day in and day out, and I love that. To me, that's very addicting.
I bet it is, and it must feel wonderful because you really are serving the world with an extraordinary gift, which is helping people move through their fear and realize their full potential, which we need. We need your full potential in the world, folks. And listen, I face fears all the time. Ask my coach, life coach, about that. But and I'm very excited that you and Richard are willing to face even more fear and rejection by pursuing a dream that you've had for the last 15 years in your writing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, it will be interesting if nothing else.
You're right. More, but you're not giving up. You're not letting life stop without that happening. I love it. Yeah, I'd like to take a moment right now and wish David Schiffman happy birthday. I know you're going to be tuning into this show, and I just want to give you a mwah, mwah, mwah here on March 17th. A big happy birthday to you. And then to Cherie Valentine, I know you're watching this while you're cooking dinner tonight, darling, so thank you. Cook away. Also, we've got Christine Bowen. I know you're traveling and you're going to be watching this, so thank you for tuning in. And Nazim, I am so thrilled you stopped by and said I'm going to catch the replay. And to all, oh, and Carrie Green, you too. Such a busy guy and a dad of many kids. I am thrilled and honored for you who are watching here in the replay, and for you who all of you who showed up live. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Please, everyone, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Andelicious Advice. You can just find it by Andy Lyons, or right here if you're watching in the replay via YouTube. And be sure to visit andylyons.com. I have so many resources waiting there for you to help you in your business grow and flourish. And I'm so excited about your journeys that you're on. Andrea, what any last minute advice, any last thoughts you'd like to share with folks before we wrap up?
Yeah. Use go for no all the time. It's a life philosophy. So if you have that moment where you want to ask someone for something and you think, oh, they're just going to say no, don't prejudge. Don't let the voices start coming up and talking you out of it. Oh, now is not the right time, or it's not the right person. Just remember to go for no. Just get that no and move on. And you can do it in your business. You can do it in your life. You can do it if you want to upgrade a hotel room. Just practice it and see what happens.
Oh, I love that. Upgrade the hotel room one. Come on, everybody. Put in your stories. I want to hear your stories of how you are embracing no in your life and going for no. Please share with us either in the comment thread or email me, Ande at Lyons, or Andrea at goforno.com. We'd love to hear your stories. You can follow Andrea. I was going to say you can follow Andrea on all her social media platforms. She's everywhere: Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. It's so wonderful. I follow her religiously because she's always putting out just what I need to hear and to share with all of you. And for those of you tuning in, again, thank you so much for watching. And next week, March 24th, we have Meredith Elliott Powell, who is all about helping business owners succeed in the new trust and value economy. And she's going to be bringing her great tips because, look, times are changing, and how we relate to folks out there in our world with our businesses and who we are and how we connect and how we present our stories of our products and our services are key, and the economy is changing every day. And Meredith is going to help us see and experience it the way we need to as entrepreneurs. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll see those of you right after here in the Afterglow show. And then in the meantime, wishing you an Andelicious week. And please, Andrea, say hello and goodbye and see you next time.
It was great being on. Thank you so much. I will see you next time.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Mwah!